investing and supporting immigrant parents financially. This is such a big topic that almost everyone we work with is grappling with because when you're the first in your family to be investing and taking steps to build wealth, but you're also trying to do so in alignment with your values, in bringing your family along with you and staying connected with your roots, it can sometimes feel like a lot of tension. A lot of our students in immigrant finance school say that and talk about that. And so in this video, I want to go over a few things that you can do, and just acknowledge that it can be a lot of pressure, to be the first in your family to become an immigrant wealth builder. And part of it is really like knowing how to set some healthy boundaries that's going to allow you to grow the family legacy while not causing harm and still supporting your family members and being able to be loving and live out your values, build wealth in your own way, in a way that really works for you. Sorry, an alert come up. And there's a quote we have in a blog on this topic that we'll link below, is like, you can't pour from an empty account. Like, have you ever heard that phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup? It's the same thing with your financial accounts. And you may be having to deal with things like send money back home to family, be the one to support your parents when they retire, cover emergency medical bills for your parents or other family members, be the one always having to figure out like translating documents and financial and legal systems for your parents and family ones. So it can be a lot, to have to be the one to figure it out. So there's three things that I want to talk about that hopefully can provide some support in this area. And just know always, like, financial plans are meant to give you a plan how to handle these types of challenging things so that you can get on a path that makes sense for you and your family, that's going to get you guys in a better position in the future. And it's the holidays, so it's a good time to start kind of having these conversations when you're spending time with family, to just like let them know how much you love them and how you're taking these moves, making these plans to be investing, to be, building wealth for the future so that you all can be better off, everybody. Okay, so let's go over the three truths to think about on this topic. Number one, in terms of like the theme of boundaries, knowing that saying no sometimes is not necessarily abandoning your family members. It can also mean sustainability and setting new wealth patterns, right? It can also be a form of love, right? So if are teaching your family things that you're learning, um, and setting boundaries to allow you to be growing financially, that's going to allow them to learn as well and also improve their own habits. So sometimes you have to say, like, I know I'm going to be the one having to like cover things when you're not able to work anymore in the future, or when you retire. And so I need to make sure that like I'm going to be okay then, that you guys are going to be okay then, and that means I have to start putting some of my budget now toward investing, right? Rather than like giving it all to you or whatever, for whatever reason. And so it's okay to like set boundaries sometimes, and give that context, give that explanation that there's a higher reason for it. If you can't help with something right now, so because you're working toward a future where you're going to be able to continue to do that in a sustainable way. The second thing to think about is know, like, your wealth that you're building when you're the first is not just for you, right? It's part of the family legacy. It's your wealth is their legacy too. And so every dollar you're investing is planting a seed, right, for your family's future stability. Building your own safety net and your ability to be stable and wealthy in the future doesn't mean you're turning your back on your family. It just means that you're going to be in a position where you can support them from a place of like overflow rather than depletion. And so it starts with learning to say sometimes like, I need to just learn this guidance to how to do this, right? I need to set new patterns. I need to set new habits. I need to make different financial decisions, um, and learn how to do that, whether it's through various financial literacy means like podcasts, books, working with a financial coach, blogs, online courses, like however you are able to learn the information, so that you don't have to do it alone, and so that you can learn the steps to become a wealth builder and build that legacy for the family going forward. And the third thing is just to know that you don't need to do this alone. It is so much harder to do these types of things where you're changing generations of family cycles and patterns and habits, right? It's so much harder to do that alone. And so you're not meant to do it alone. And just because the financial system isn't built for immigrants, sorry, hold on. Just because the financial system isn't built for immigrants doesn't mean that you can't learn the tools and the tricks, right? That doesn't mean you can't learn the tools and the tricks that others are using, that Americans coming from generations of wealth are using to build wealth. Like you get to learn that information too, just because it's not being easily provided for the immigrant community doesn't mean that you don't have a right to do it, right? Like that's why we're here. That's why we're here to provide that support here in immigrant finance so that you can know the steps to take and you can become a wealth builder and not have to do it alone, to get that guidance that your family maybe hasn't been able to provide because they haven't had someone who's been investing before, right? This stuff isn't taught in school. And here at Immigrant Finance, we have been able to help hundreds of immigrants and their families become investors, get on that track for building wealth, and get started. And so we teach with the support, the structure, um, and step by step. That's what we're here for. And there's more information about everything I just covered in the blog. Again, I'll link below. And then I'll just lastly mention we have an amazing new training that's less than an hour called Jumpstart that helps you get started with all of these steps with wealth building as an immigrant. It is currently only $7. So I'll put the link for that below. Get it while the price is low and come in and learn everything you deserve to learn on how to get started, and what steps exactly to take as an immigrant to be building wealth, and how you do have a right to do all of those things. So thanks for taking the time to listen, and let us know any questions you have and if you like this video and want to hear more.